The other thing too I found with chickens, you can put them in your garden for like 5-minute little increments. And you know how tomato bugs are just huge and nasty looking? I didn't have any on my garden when I was letting the chickens just go in there for a little bit and then out. You let them in there too long, they'll eat things, but they'll eat the bad bugs that you would normally spray for. Let your chickens do what they're supposed to do and then take them out so they don't take out the whole garden. And
make sure they didn't know how you got them in there because they're going to try to maybe get back in there.
They want the good stuff.
How did you get them out?
I was in a tract home at the time, and so there's a little fence garden, and I just had the kids grab them.
You just carry them. Like,
when you get them from babies, they're used to being held.
Yeah, they're used to being held. Look at this is my son. He loves going in there and holding the chickens. And you know what? You raise the kids like these animals are put on this earth for our good, and you respect the animals and you be nice to them, because I've literally had, like, my kids have friends over and they just go in and the first thing they want to do is taunt the animals. Like, no, don't do that, be nice. And so we had chickens, they lay a little bit less when it's colder outside. So we had some friends say, oh yeah, our stupid chickens, they're not laying. And we're like, oh, we're still getting good eggs. And it's true, like, you got to respect the animals and be nice and not just treat them like a production. So should we move on to the next thing, or is there...
Any questions? I mean, we kind of just wanted to cover some of the basics about chickens, and it's not overwhelming. You can literally go to the store for $2, buy a baby. You can go on Craigslist and find somebody that's selling a layer hen for $10. The feed stores will help you with figuring out what kind of feed and how much feed.
When you said you got your first chicks and you put them in an aquarium, like, how many chicks to what size of aquarium?
Okay, we have tried to utilize. I mean, anybody else? There's somebody selling a specific something for almost everything out there in the world. So if you have things like what we use in an aquarium, perfect. You know, if you've got a box.
My friend kept him in the bathtub in his guest house or in his guest room. You know,
The big Rubbermaid. Exactly. Totally. There's so many things that you probably have in the garage or the shed, or you can pick up somewhere for like nothing instead of having to go spend a bunch of money for some specialty. You know, the chicken with a coop, when you get to building a coop, I've seen coops out there for like $500, and they're really cool. I mean, they got a little fan thing on top, and they're painted to match whatever. Chickens don't care what their coop looks like. They want it to protect them from rain and wind and snow. They want to have a little box so that they can go and feel safe in this little box so they can lay an egg, you know, and those are called nesting boxes that you put in the coop. For the aquarium, I think we had an aquarium, I don't remember how gallon-wise it was, but it was about this long, about that one.
That big.
Maybe a little smaller. Yeah. And I think we had, 15 little chicks in there. And once it seems like they're getting a little bigger and they can't help but step in their water and step in their food because they're just so crowded, then there's, we upped them to a little bigger, aquarium or whatever. And at about, once they start to get some, they're real fuzzy when they're little, and that fuzz goes off and you start seeing actual little baby feathers. When all those feathers come in, then you can start introducing them a little bit with your protection outside so they can go run around there. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, cool. But you want to make sure that fuzz falls off and they got some feathers. And you just want to have a heat source for them and a spot for them to get out of the heat. Because if they can't get out of it, that's bad for them, obviously. Yeah?
You say an egg a day, is that for like a season, or is that all year round, or how?
It's basically all year round, but like I said, during the winter months when it's colder, their egg production goes down. So we've never had we have 25 chicken or 22 hens, but we don't get 22 eggs a day. They're laying about an egg every day and a half.
Yeah, that's kind of the ratio, is a day and a half, but it's hard to judge that outward. So yeah, if you've got 10 hens and they're all laying age, you're probably going to get somewhere between 6 or 7 eggs a day. You're not going to get 10 probably. Yeah.
And again, if you want to check with a hatchery like Cackle, they have these little city packs now for people who live in the city, and they'll sell you just so many hens. But the heritage birds will have egg production according to how they were bred. So some were bred to be producing in the winter, some were bred to be egg and meat production birds. So they'll literally tell you in the description how many eggs per year you can pretty much count on. Some birds are more warm weather birds, like your Americanas, things like that. So it just depends on where they were bred and the genetics behind it.
Most hatcheries too show, you know, give you like little guides. Does Cackle do that too, where it says if they're good for, if they're broody or heat tolerant or what, and you can look through and see, you know, see what your baby chicks would look like, what they grow into. Turkeys, we're getting, how many turkeys? 17 turkeys coming.
17.
But people want them.
Oh.
But, so there's different, it's fun to go on a hatchery website and see all the things that they offer.
Yeah, there's every single one of those pictures is a different type of chicken, isn't it?
Uh-huh, yeah.
There's so many different
breeds.
types,
Yeah.
so.
And the breeds that you can readily get usually here locally aren't going to be the heritage, so you probably need to go to a online hatchery or some catalog that you can find those heritage breeds. Locally, you'll find a generally decent laying breed. If you want to get a meat breed, those are a little harder to locate, like a Cornish cross or
But
whatever.
they mail them the day after they're born, right? Is it the day
they're
after?
born,
The day
yeah.
they're born. And it's amazing how hardy they are. I mean, they come healthy. Post office will call you and say, pick up your chicks, please, because they're loud. You know? You get 'em. In fact, I've even heard you can get mail order goats and have them delivered to the post office. Yeah. So you can look on a lot of websites. But Dance Feed right now has wine dogs. Is that what they're called? Lacy wine dogs or something. Cute ones right now. So.
So,
At Dan's.
do you have anything more to add on chicken? Any last minute question on chickens before we move on?
How long does it take a baby chick to become a laying egg hen?
They lay right around 5 months.
Yeah.
So if you're, I was going to say, it opens up, the more you kind of explore this world, it opens up to so many different opportunities. Like, we were buying laying hens from a guy in Temecula here who had a ranch or something. And we bought, a bunch of laying hens, and he said, oh, here's an incubator. You can just have it. And incubators can be expensive. And we're like, wow, I've never had an incubator before. And he goes, yeah, you just put the eggs in and plug it in, and they'll hatch in like 27 days or something. 21. There you go. And so
put a little water in the bottom, it has a little tray for it, and this thing turns automatically or whatever, and lo and behold, I get a call one morning. Hey, the chickens I hear tweets, I hear tweets. I hear these little tweets from the little box.
Yeah, you have to have the incubator up on like, or
We put it up
somewhere
so
where
the
it's
kids-
not going to be, kids looking in it and stuff.
Trying to open in on that.
It was on top of our fridge, and because that was the most secure spot. So I was making breakfast, and all of a sudden it goes. So I look at there. It's just fun.
And so she's like, what do you do? What do I do? What do I do?
What do I do?
Nothing. Nothing. Take the egg out, and then, if you are going to incubate eggs, they got to stay in the incubator for, a day. I mean, let them dry.
The
And
chickens
then
need
the little
to
baby
stay
chicks,
in there,
if you decide to hatch it. But it's very simple. That's the whole, kind of everything we want to talk about is not as intimidating as it might seem in a book or an online thing. Just do a little research about it, and then just kind of make sure you're somewhat, familiar, and then you'll learn a tremendous amount firsthand. It's like even when things we've tried to do, when we've talked to somebody about pigs and talked to them about, well, how did you do this, how did you do that? I gain more in a 20-minute conversation than hours of trying to research it because it's so real world. And those are the experiences you'll learn and you'll get. And things don't move at you. You're reading through a book, you'll cover 10 paragraphs. Things don't move that fast in real life. It's one day at a time, and things don't grow. Things don't change, and situations don't. So just kind of keep that in mind with all of it, even incubating.
One last thing too with coops. If you go on Craigslist, look for sheds, or playhouses, like children's playhouses. If you're in a tract home, that's a great disguising little chicken coop. It looks like just a little children's playhouse, and people are getting rid of so much right now that are inexpensive. But we got a great children's playhouse that this man made, and it's a great chicken coop now. So, and it's cute, it's great for your yard. So.
That is cute.
Just in case anybody's interested too, if you want to buy hatching eggs, you can actually get them on eBay. Different breeds, and I just saw a what's called it's a very rare breed. It's a Jubilee Orpington. Dozen hatching eggs for $164.50, and it was still climbing.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is
That's a lot
like
of money.
this is the rage right now. Are these